Hashish dealers in Morocco have said they will stop supplying to Israel in light of the war in Gaza, as reported by Israeli news site Mako on Friday. According to the Israeli drug dealer interviewed for the report, the Moroccan suppliers are no longer willing to sell directly to Israeli dealers or through middlemen. In quotes, they decided because of the war, they are boycotting, the source, who wished to remain anonymous, said. Since the war, we have lost so much money, tens of millions of shekels at least, he says. The majority of Moroccan cannabis is grown and processed into hashish, which is not to be confused with the less potent but more widely known marijuana in the Al Rif region in the northern part of the country. It is generally considered to be some of the highest quality product available on the market, and worldwide demand for the drug has kept the prices rising at a steady increase for at least several years. With revenue reaching several $billions a year, the use of cannabis for adult use was officially decriminalized in Israel back in 2022, and according to one Israeli living in Morocco and involved in smuggling hashish into Spain and France, who was interviewed by Mako, Israel does not make up a large percentage of Morocco's hash export business. In quotes, hundreds of tons of hash are sold to drug dealers in Europe and Scandinavia, he explained. At best, only a few hundred kilograms of Moroccan hash reach Israel. Despite the relatively small volume being exported to Israel, it was still incredibly lucrative for drug dealers inside the country prior to the boycott. In quotes, the price of a kilogram of Moroccan hash can reach 300,000 NIS. That is about $81,720 in Israel. The demand for it in Israel is crazy because it is very high quality and clean and powerful, the man continued. Hashish is one of several drugs that is regularly smuggled into Israel across both its southern and northern border, and criminal organizations involved in the drug trade regularly employ local Israeli smugglers, among them yeshiva students who hide the drugs, for instance, in hidden compartments in their suitcases. A hashish dealer from the Rif Mountains, identified as R, confirmed that a boycott has in fact been imposed on Israeli dealers. In quotes, why should Israelis be able to make a living selling Moroccan hashish when our Palestinian brothers are suffering from hunger and living in humane conditions, he told Mako. And in one more quote, go buy it somewhere else. We no longer sell hashish to Israelis. Before the war, we did business here with them. Smugglers and sellers came here and made good money. Now that's the end of it, he said. Well, sounds like things are going a little crazy out in the Middle East. Of course, we all already knew that, but it is impacting the drug trade. And what do you guys have to say about this?
Wow. Like, no hash for you. Wow.
Yeah, that's how exactly.
I love it. I think it's hilarious. Solidarity with their brothers.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Mandy. I felt like I was watching an episode of Jerry Seinfeld, and all of a sudden we have the hash Nazi. No hashish for you. No bricks.
No hash for you.
Hold on. Time out. Let's be careful about saying not Israelis mixing in the conversation.
Well, that was a Seinfeld reference.
Just for cognizant of what we're talking about. But let's say this. This is awesome. This is awesome because this is showing economics 101, right? This is how the U.S. And many other large nations imply sanctions to make other countries do what they want them to do, right? We imply sanctions. We implied sanctions on Iran. We applied sanctions on China. We applied sanctions on Russia. And we do those things in order to try to get that company that we are putting these embargoes and these sanctions on to do something or to be a good actor, right? So I don't know. This is another way for someone to hold a precious commodity from one of these companies and say, if you want this commodity, start to be a good actor.
So you call these street sanctions? Is that what you're saying, Luke?
Yep.
Or turf
good
sanctions?
Old-fashioned street sanctions.
Interesting.
And I mean, if you think about it, they're probably activating these Moroccan hash producers and smugglers are activating a demographic that I would assume is not the most politically engaged in Israel. Illicit
Can you
market
guys
hash
imagine
dealers
a
are
world-
probably not politically engaged. So by doing what Luke said, basically creating an embargo for exporting hash to Israel, now you have a group of people that are probably going to be more involved with voicing their opposition to what the Israeli government is doing. I think it's awesome.
Oh boy. What do
Can
you
you guys imagine what would happen if like California's hash makers just decided to just stop giving it to people?
Other people would just pop up and make it. Other people would just pop up and make it. They would just lose revenue. They lose market share.
It would be a travesty though. Like
someone else would fill in the gaps. I think one of the reasons that this is able to be somewhat of a success is because you have certain factions that control all of the sourcing in these countries, so therefore they are able to do this, as opposed to where California, you don't have anybody like there's no one person that says, hey, all you hash makers, stop making hash. Like and even if there was, no one would listen to them. So that's not even going to be a reality here in the States.
And I think the other point on that too is that Israel makes up such a small portion of the demand for hash from Morocco, right? The amount that they're exporting to Spain and Portugal and France and the rest of the mainland Europe and probably even elsewhere in Africa is so much bigger than what Israel is consuming. So they can afford to just cut off one of their downstream sources.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I understand they make some pretty good hash in India, right, Soham?
They do. It's different. That Moroccan hash is that dry pressed hash. In India, they make the live pressed hash.
Hold on.
They make dry hash up in Afghanistan. There's other sources for it. And you can't buy it at the wholesale distributor. You go down the stream a little bit and pick it up from somebody and just smuggled it into Spain. I don't know. There's ways around it.
Fair enough. They're going to find new sources.
Maybe the Israelis really want that Moroccan good, maybe the people that love that shit in Israel will pressure.
All this really does.
And his boys.
All this really does, Rico, ultimately at the end of the day is make the price of Moroccan hash go up in Israel, because someone's still going to get it, and it's still going to happen, and you know what I'm saying, someone's going to want the money more than they care about whatever is going on, and they're going to need the money, and they're going to sell it.
Mark my words.
They always find
a month from now, you're gonna see a story about some rogue Israeli soldiers that have been selling illegal hash to their homeboys on the Gaza Strip.
And we'll make sure to cover it here at High at 9 News when we do cover that. Find that story.
Yes, we will.
Yes,
we will.
What were you gonna say, Luke?
Start hearing propaganda stories about hash with fentanyl popping up in
we
Israel.
all know that's total fake news.
Trap always wins, guys, right?
That's right. What were you gonna say, Luke?
Already on every corner.
No, what I was just going to say is, like, even in the bigger country, there's always ways around it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like Russia has sanctions. Still see Mercedes-Benz driving up the street all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not supposed to. The Western countries aren't supposed to do business with them, but there's always ways around it. People are always going to find ways around. Outlet in the pipeline will always be in other ways, right? So this is no different here. There will be Israelis that find ways to get hash and find ways to get other hash, and the price of hash will go up. But the idea behind this is not that you can't get a Mercedes-Benz or you can't get the hash. It's that it becomes more difficult, right? It becomes more difficult for the average person to come in and get it, and then it becomes economically unattainable for most people. Mm-hmm. That's where we see the challenges. That's where you see the average everyday consumer won't be able to buy Moroccan or the Mercedes-Benz in Moscow.
100%. There's a reason why you always see Kim Jong-un with the latest and greatest Maybachs and Jack Daniels. You got lifetime supply of Jack Daniels.
Yes. Oh, man.
You got the money? Get the goods.
You got the money, you got the honey. You know what it is. It's Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. That's right. You got the money, you got the honey. That's right. And